All righty, and here we are live Monday night, September 9th. Welcome, everybody. I see a handful of people already in chat. Thank you for being here. And to those watching the stream after the fact, welcome as well. JB and I back again for another day of news updates. And we have some significant news today. But before we get ahead of ourselves, per usual, little touch base, check in how things are going. How's the week starting off, man?
Busy. My, kind of the school year is getting in full swing. My son, he's just started his second year of Cub Scouts. So we did our first little meeting here tonight and he's really into that. So that was fun kind of kicking that off. And yeah, so that was right after school, then came home, got dinner, blasted through that and got right here on the podcast. Definitely one of the highlights of the week. So always glad to do it.
Yeah, definitely. We got the news update this morning, and yeah, it sounds like a very busy day. After 2 long weekends of vacation, I think for a Labor Day, and then the week before you were able to get away. So, uh, no more of
Yeah.
that. Um,
But yeah, kind of ending the summer on a good note with a couple of trips here. So yeah, it's a good end to it.
I like it. Yes, fall is already here. You can feel it in the air. It's like 60 something degrees Fahrenheit where we are. And NFL Sunday was yesterday, and Patriots did great. Girlfriend and I were glued to the couch all day. We're in a couple fantasy leagues that makes it enjoy watching. So it was a good time.
Yeah, same. I had middle of last week I did my fantasy football draft and didn't get any Patriots this year. We're not expecting a ton from them, although they did play very well over the weekend, so that was good to see.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, no, we'll kick things off with some of the War Visions news. And yes, many of you have already started commenting on in the chat. The biggest news of the game today is nothing in game and nothing in the notices. It's actually a video that AuronnJ released an hour ago, 2 hours ago, that he is discontinuing his War of the Visions coverage. And so JB and I had no idea of this. This was a definite surprise. And without saying too much more about that, neither of us have seen the video yet. And so we actually thought we do a live react. We're going to stream the video here live. It's already up for everyone to see, but we thought listen to his thoughts, give some live reactions, give some feedback, because it's a 14-minute video. So I'm sure it's going to be a lot of memories and probably some thoughts about the game and its direction, and obviously personal reasons why he's cutting out. But yeah, we can just bring it up here, and hopefully that's okay with everyone. We're going to give this a spin, and so I'll hit play. You guys let me know how the volume sounds. Hopefully we can all hear this, but maybe we can all trauma bond through this together.
Good morning, everybody. AuronnJ here with another War of the Visions video, and today's video is definitely a little bit of a sad one, as yes, the title, the thumbnail, whatever I choose to make those aren't actually clickbait. Today I am stepping away from War of the Visions officially. And I'm just going to unpack that. Like, this is just a video. There's no script here at all. There's not much going on. It's going to be a lot of stream of consciousness. It's going to be a lot of Eileen on the screen. And I'm going to try to stay like as emotionally stable as I can, because this video and this game have meant a lot to me for the last like 4 some years. This has been a huge journey, and there's a lot of people I want to thank. There's a lot of stuff I want to say like about the game on my way out. So if all you came to see was if this video is clickbait or not, it's not. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for watching any of my War of the Visions videos I've ever made. If you want to hear what I have to say about like the game, the people I want to shout out and thank, then stick around. And let's start by just talking about like why I'm stepping away right now. Basically, there's 2 reasons for me to keep playing any sort of game. One is financially motivated, and it's been a really long time since War of the Visions was bringing me as a content creator, or anybody as a content creator, enough money to justify just doing it for a financial gain, right? Like maximum every month through just like YouTube ad revenue and stuff like that. War of the Visions is making me like $300 or $400, and I feel like I'm probably the most viewed War of the Visions content creator. And if my ad revenue in War of the Visions, as somebody who is making 4 to 6 War of the Visions videos a week, was capping out near $500, like obviously that's not enough to make a living on. So myself and probably every other content creator for War of the Visions is making videos for this game out of like a passion for the game, out of an enjoyment for the game, and out of just wanting to like share that enjoyment with the community. And this last week, especially this last weekend, I was
You
just
want to
under
pause
the
it there
weather.
and just react to
and
that first?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, I mean, just from the content
Logging in-
creation standpoint, what were your thoughts there?
I completely agree. I mean, you and I have said this before. We do this as a passion project. It was born out of a motivation that this game is difficult and it's complex, and I wanted to enlighten and like teach people and share what I know to maximize their experience. And my argument was always, we put so much time and money and effort into this that if you're going to go 2 feet in, you might as well know what the heck you're doing. And so it's never been about the financial side of things. I've been honest about this. On a really good month, I might make 100 to 150. On my best month, that's what I make. On average, we're looking at like $70 a month, maybe. I'm usually 50. And that being said, I only do like 1 or 2 videos, but yeah, there's never been any kind of content creator kickback so far as I know either. That I know some of these new games, like Sword of Convalaria, I think was one of them, was doing like content creator like bundles where they were funding their accounts to help them play the game. And I know we've never been approached with that, nor have I ever heard of that. So yeah, totally agree with him that the content creator side of things is not a lucrative spot to be in.
Especially if you have some aims to make it like a full-time gig or even like a part-time gig.
Yep.
I mean, I know that I personally have kind of on a brief hiatus at the moment and sort of making my own channel videos. Still doing the podcast, still enjoying that, but kind of doing the reviews and things like that. I haven't had that passion for it lately to kind of put all that time, because to be honest, just to make a video for me would be, you know, a 5 to 10 hour project, you know, between creating the infographics, putting all my thoughts and builds together, filming the video, editing the video, uploading the video, etc. So early on, even it would take me even longer than that, just because I had no idea what I was doing. I was kind of learning as I went. But
Yep.
I mean, if you think about that amount of time to then see, okay, I made $5 on this video, I made $6 on this video. It was never about the money. So
Agreed.
he's absolutely right about that.
Yep. Yeah, we'll keep going here though, because there's obviously still a ton to cover. And shout out to DGen TP in the chat. I'm sure he also can attest to the content creator side of things there. But yes, hello to him. But we'll keep going here.
Into War of the Visions and playing felt like a chore for the first time ever, at least for real. My excitement to play the game had been kind of tapering off. The current, like, I could dive into like the current metas with all of the different, you know, elements and stacking resists and penetrations and all of that, and that's just a normal progression in these games. I feel like you have to keep power creeping, and the power creep just is what it is. I do not currently enjoy the meta in War of the Visions. Like, obviously I think that's true, but it wasn't the thing. Like, the thing that ended it for me was guild raids, I believe, are coming out this week, and that's a week where I really have to play hard. And I was like, I would just rather spend my time doing other things, playing other games for fun, than I would doing guild raids in War of the Visions. And that especially because guild raids is such a fun, like, it's the PvE content that I've enjoyed the most in this game. And when I don't even want to do that anymore, and I don't like the current state of PvP, it was just time for me to step away, and this just frees up a ton of time in my life. I'm going to be doing things this year now that I'm teaching older kids again. I'm looking at things like coaching. I'm already signed up to coach 7th grade girls basketball, which is gonna be great. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. No way I could have done that and covered, you know, multiple gacha games. I'm not going away from content creation. I'm still going to be releasing Sword of Convalaria videos right now, and as long as I'm playing and enjoying Sword of Convalaria, I'll probably release several videos a week on that. So like, if you like watching my content and you are currently playing SOC, hey, I'm still going to be dropping that. And if I drop SOC for something else, I'm sure I will just cover that on this channel as well. I've built something here that I really love in this YouTube channel, and it was built solely on the back of War of the Visions. That's probably one of the reasons I feel such an attachment to this game. And really, it comes down to this girl right here. Like, Eileen, if you're not one of the OGs, this was my girl back in the day that I actually just...
Wait, I'll pause it here for a second to talk about his thoughts on the fun of the game. And special shout out to those of you in the chat too. Appreciate the kind words about JB and I and the work we do. Obviously, we do it for you, so I'm glad that you guys feel that way, because that's the main motivation. Hopefully, we can keep doing that for you. I'll talk about this after. I know I certainly do. I agree with him though. We have talked for weeks on the podcast about how unfun PvP had become, which was the main game mode, by the nature that that was the most hours spent in the game. They've done a much better job in the last like 3 weeks with some of the unit releases to shake it up a little bit, but I do think it's a little bit too little too late. A lot of impressions have already been made. A lot of people have already had the rug kicked out from out of them. And we could kind of tell this, I think, with Auronn too, where once Sword of Convaleria came out, we know that his PvP engagement was like at an all-time low. I know he wasn't really managing the guild in the same capacity. Cayenne, that he's part of, they've been doing really well, quite frankly, too, in the last month. And so I did, if you said, Will, are you shocked that the writing was on the wall? I think the answer would be no. I think you could kind of tell that. And he's not alone. I think he is feeling what a lot of us were feeling, and really just a matter of us pushing through the hump, which I think the worst is behind us, quite frankly. But I completely sympathize with them, particularly with the guild raid side of things, because if that's something that you really like, and that, you know, excitement is gone, that's usually a tough thing to get through.
I mean, for me personally, I feel like this was probably a long time coming for him. I feel like he's maybe denied some of these feelings for a while just because he didn't maybe have that next step that he could take. I think he's been looking for that next step after WOTV for a long time.
Yep.
He's dabbled with other games and tried to cover other games. Nothing that really spoke to him like War of the Visions did initially. And I think he's finally found that. And, you know, that was probably, you know, kind of the kick in the pants to turn the page and kind of move on. But it's been clear to me that he hasn't had the same love and passion for the game that he did kind of in the peak like Friday Night Fights eras and you know, earlier on in the life of the game. And that's natural. Everybody kind of goes through those ebbs and flows, and certainly we're not immune to it either. And for everybody, that time, you know, comes, and, you know, it'll come for us someday too. So yeah. I think that he finally kind of figured that out and decided to move on.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And that's not a criticism. It's just an observation that, like you said, we're not immune to it either.
Yeah.
You yourself are on a hiatus. If you look at my channel right now, I basically only do character reviews at this point, which is like once every 2 weeks. So yeah, that's not a criticism of him like checking out. Like we all empathize and have kind of been in the same boat on that regard. Yeah.
And I think, you know, the PvP meta has been the main driver of why I haven't felt the same about the game and why I had to take a step back in some of my content creation, because I haven't felt that same spark about the game lately.
Right.
I do agree that it has been getting better lately, but I also agree with your take that it is feeling a little bit late at this point.
Right. We've already seen a pretty big outflow of people leaving the game, probably more so than average. And while I don't think that means that the game is in imminent danger, that's definitely a noticeable uptick, I think, compared to, I don't know, more recent. See, yeah, we'll keep going here though.
Yeah.
Just like made this game about, that I've made content about, her beating Orlando, Thunder God Sid in PvP, like as the lowest tier unit in this game, was like the thing that made my channel popular. And like the fact that, you know, she never became good again and I never got another version of that unit is one of the things I'm like the most salty about. Like, how did I never get Summer
That's me and Whisper all day. I'll take it.
Eileen? How did I never get Holiday Eileen? That just irritates the heck out of me. And of course, now that I'm quitting, there probably will be an Eileen. I'll tell you what, now that I'm on the path of things that I'm annoyed with, never getting a PC client for this game sucks. Like, this is BlueStacks right here. And yes, while BlueStacks runs fine 85.5% of the time, it's nothing compared to a PC client. And I want to say that, like, let me just start my shout out version of this video, because like I'm really not trying to gripe about the game. I obviously love War of the Visions. It will forever, like, it's immortalized on my wall, right? I have Leonis flags hanging in my office. I have my War of the Visions, like, you know, shoutcaster jacket. I've got the tie. Like, I have more War of the Visions merch than any other human, I think, unless you work for the company. And I'm going to proudly display that. That's like the beginning of my whole YouTube career. It's never going away. This game in my heart, it is locked in. However, it's time to be done. Now, I want to start by doing some shout outs, and I want to start by shouting out the development team, the people that I've worked with on the official channels, Justin, Hiroki, and everybody else, right? And I've met these people in person. You guys, they are quality human beings who really care about this game. And I know there's always like naysayers on the internet, but I feel in a particularly strong spot to talk about this as probably one of the only people who does not work for Square Enix or Gumi that's actually met many of the, like, I would say most of the most important people that when it comes to the production of this game. They are genuine human beings who like this game a lot, who love the community, and are trying their best. And I think that's why War of the Visions has been such a successful game. I think that's also why FFBE had such a long run. I'm really hoping, and you guys know I've been predicting this for years and saying it needed to happen for years, that this development team creates a Final Fantasy Brave Exvius 2, creates a War of the Visions 2, creates something else in the FFBE universe. If they do, I am there day one. Like, I will dive back in hard, but my time in the Brave Exvius universe for now is coming to an end. Okay, who else do I want to?
Yeah, I think it's
so. What do you think about? What do you think about that? Would you be back for WOTV 2, FFBE 2? Would you be in for that, or are you done when this game is done?
No, I would definitely be in. I'm actually really enjoying the lore of this. The actual Brave Exvius lore has gotten a little convoluted for my liking. I don't know it as well, and quite frankly, unfortunately, the Wikipedia does have details, but I don't think there's an easy way to catch up on some of the things that they've implemented. But yeah, I'm absolutely in if they ever made another version of this. Yeah, how about yourself?
Hopefully they've learned some lessons, you know, from the two games, and especially when it pertains to the global audience and the spending habits that we have, because it's completely different, you know. And even within the global audience, I think there's probably different tastes, you know, depending on where it is. But I do hope that they do it a little bit better next time. I think that, you know, I think that when we did have the global team here for War of the Visions, I think that those were some of the better days for sure. At least, you know, and maybe that first couple of years, things definitely kind of went downhill.
Yeah.
You know, in the third year, but yeah, I would totally be into.
I do want to quickly echo something you said too about Justin and Hiroki. I know Justin very well. Him and I chat all the time. We play many similar games, Genshin, and we play 14, and so we talk video gaming and a little bit about his work. And Justin's an amazing guy. He's actually very funny. And I know Hiroki's a great guy too. I know they are both products of a company. It's a corporate company at the end of the day. It's a publicly traded corporate company globally that, you know, unfortunately, a lot of things that they can do are tied. And it's nothing personal that they do to us. It's business decisions that come from above them, and maybe some things that they have to do as a hard pill to swallow. But yeah, personally speaking, I think Hiroki and Justin and the team, I have worked with a couple of them for like Justin and Friends and them getting up and running, and yeah, nothing but great things to say. I would also echo that because I feel like they unfairly get a lot of hate as the figureheads, but I think some of the problems we have are bigger than them.
I think too that I mean, Square has a long track record of kind of failed gotchas at this point, and I think they need to take a long, hard look in the mirror and try to figure out what they're doing wrong, because China has come in and absolutely reset the table when it comes to expectations for gotcha games. And I'm personally not a Hoyo player, but you know, I follow the industry and I kind of know what's going on. And at this point, they're putting out, like, at least graphic wise, like AAA caliber games with a lot of, you know, valuable gameplay that you can access for free without kind of partaking in the gacha.
Yep.
And that's kind of the new model at this point. So I think they do need to get with the times a little bit and change how they're running these games as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this style of gacha is a thing of the past. I think in 2020s and 2030 beyond, you'll see new style of gacha. It's just not sustainable. It's quickly becoming, you can clearly tell, microtransactions abound. It's just a cash grab until the game dies, and that's not unique to this game. It's many gachas beyond just Square. But yeah, we'll keep going here.
A shout out. Let's start with my guild. So it's been a while. Like literally, I've only ever been the like figure.
Fill your barracks, Auron. I'm kidding. You're fine.
Your head for this guild. I'm like the president of a country that does nothing
barracks.
while the rest of the government runs everything. And that really starts with like the sub leaders of my guild. You know, especially big shout out to like Ashaman, who has been like without him, you don't have our massive success in guild raids. And like he's carried so hard. Like it's the thing that Cayenne was always the best at. There's already a spot available. I'm gonna step away today, like at the end of this video, which is gonna be a sad moment, and I'm gonna promote somebody. So if you want to join a guild that's gonna get like first in guild raids and it's pretty chill when it comes to PvP, there's 2 spots in Cayenne. Come take them. This is the best guild in the game. Like in terms of enjoyment of the game, it's definitely that. Also, I mean, like everyone else who ever is an officer in the guild, you know, Kay, Ray, everybody, all the current officers, there's too many people to name, all the way back to like Toussaint, who was the original founder of this guild, who I took leadership from at some point. Like,
sorry guys, I don't have YouTube Premium. I apologize. There you go.
Awesome. It's been a fantastic guild to play with. I also want to, let me just keep Eileen on the screen because it's the last time we're all going to be seeing her because ain't nobody else repping Eileen on screen. Big shout out to Lego, Maverick, and Francesca, and anybody else who helped Friday Night Fights. By far, my favorite streams were the Friday Night Fight streams, and they were also the least profitable, which always sucked. Now, like the live PvP, when we got to do the actual Square Enix PvP, that's the only thing Square Enix like ever paid me money to do, and so that was sort of profitable. But the rest of the PvP stuff was just fun. From back to like the after school PvP Guild War streams, which like other content creators even copied that, so I know that was a good idea. If you're getting copied, you're doing something right. To the Friday Night Fights crew, thank you to everybody who played in Friday Night Fights, helped it out in any way. Those were just legendary. Like, you know, the Dervises of the world, you know, like the Sir Cuckingtons of the world, all of you guys, just thank you so much. And anybody who's ever watched a War of the Visions video, been a channel member, a subscriber, like, thank you all. If you like are unsubscribing because of this, if you are leaving the channel membership because of this, I totally understand. I totally get it. Zero hard feelings, but I will still be making content. If you want to see what I'm still making, stick around and I'll keep letting it fly. Okay, who else do I want to thank? How about just anybody that's ever come to a live stream for this game? The live stream, like engaging with live stream chat is the difference between a good live stream and a bad live stream. So anybody who's ever just been to a stream and hung out, thank you so much. And then let's see, let's end let's start building up towards the end of the video. Oh yeah, other people I want to thank. Dr. Diggs, obviously, like, he was my first target for who I wanted to be as good as when it comes to content creation. So big shout out to Diggs, and big shout out to all of the other War of the Visions content creators that ever created content. Like in the beginning, you had Clake, who was a huge inspiration to me. And all the OGs, right? I watched all your guys' stuff, took massive inspiration from that, all the way to the people who are still making content. Ready Player Will, JB, any of the smaller people. A light just went off. That's symbolic of something, I'm sure. Or it just means I need to get a new flipping key light, which has needed to happen for months. Anyway, all the people still making content for this game, awesome. I hope this game lasts another 4 years for you all, like FFBE did. I would guess not. It just really feels to me like Square Enix is reallocating its gacha budget to some new project. I wish I had insider info there. I'd give it to you if I did. I don't. But I hope this game, for those of you that keep playing it, keeps rolling. And I don't regret any of the money I've put into the game. Like, I've put thousands of dollars into this game. And even as a content creator who made that money back, whatever. I could have made the money that I made without spending. I'm happy to support this this game. I was always happy to. Okay, I'm going to promote. I asked like in our guild chat who they wanted me to promote. So let's see here. They didn't tell me. Okay. So I'm just gonna promote Ashamon because he is the boom, there it is. Pass on leadership.
Good choice.
Yep.
Done. It's the first time I haven't been leader of Cayenne in a long time.
Wow.
So now it says leader right here. Let's back out and go back in and see what I actually am now. I'll miss these menus. No, I won't. I wish. Ashamon is now the leader of Cayenne. So that's what it says there. What am I now? Because I'm about to have to. Oh, look. I must just be a regular old bro now. Well, Cayenne.
Wow.
It was nice to see ya. Oh, I should have changed the name of the guild before I left. Well, it still gets to be Ray took over. Somebody gets to lose 50 Visior to do that. I am out of there.
Asha took over.
Maybe loading screen. I mean, look, you see what I'm saying? Playing on emulator kind of sucks. I'll take a drink of my adult apple juice.
Leaving
anytime you like kick somebody from the guild,
it says they're banned.
It would be fitting if the last thing I did in this game was force close BlueStacks. Like, you got to admit, that would be pretty, like, that'd be kind of symbolic. I think it is going to be the last thing I do.
Wow.
Yep. Apparently, I can't leave this guild. Okay, here we go. Force closing BlueStacks. Or force closing. Wait,
32K Viz on the table.
Right? Shit.
Apparently, you can't leave a guild in blue. What the hell? This is the thing. Give me a PC client, man. I won't miss having BlueStacks on my computer. To be honest, like, I don't play Sword of Convalaria on there. I don't play any of my other games on BlueStacks. I play them all on PC clients, which is what all games should have, because playing games on an emulator kind of sucks. Okay. Anything else I want to say?
I'll pause real quick because he's basically done. Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to be on Android that I can play on the Google Play client. So I've not had that issue. I'm assuming he's on iPhone, which does not get that access. That's obviously, I would agree with him. Having a PC client is enormous for just people that spend time in front of the PC. The graphics look better, quite frankly. I play Genshin on PC. I don't play that on my phone. Are you kidding me? Like, it's actually beautiful to look at, and the pixel quality is really there. I totally agree with him on the PC client side of things. And just before I forget, you can.
I play on Google PC client also.
Yeah.
It's the best way to play War of the Visions on PC anyway.
Yep.
But
it's totally legit. Totally legit. It's not an emulator to say there's like weird TOS stuff with clickers or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, way better than BlueStacks.
Yep. and just before I forget to appreciate him shouting out both of us too. He didn't need to do that, but that's certainly nice to hear regardless. But yeah, let's hear his closing thoughts here.
Say, not necessarily, just good luck to everybody still playing. Thank you again to everybody who's ever watched a War of the Visions video on this channel. Shout out to Morello, or not, Merlo. My God, why couldn't I remember his name from back in the day? Definitely helped me get into content creation. We met in War of the Visions. All my friends from this game. I'm not getting my Discord's still going to be there with all the War of the Visions stuff. I'll probably kill the Friday Night Fights channels, but the rest of it's going to stay up, so you guys can still hang out there. And that's it. Have a good one, everybody. I will catch y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.
There it is. All right. So that's his official goodbye. It is a bittersweet day. He is an enormous member of the community that does serve a very important subset of players, where he's got a really broad, expansive reach on different kinds of players. Not only from his work, like you mentioned, with the Friday Night Fights, but even more recently with any new players that have come. He is primarily one of the top search results, I would think. And so he does a lot of great stuff in terms of active content. I know you and I have semi struggled with that, to say what are we actually making content about on a week-to-week basis. And yet he does it. The patch release notes, and he'll give his thoughts, and news, which we basically do on the Leonis report, but he does it in a much more digestible format for a more casual person that just wants it in and out. He was a necessity for most players that I think you're going to feel that hole. I'll be honest, I'm hoping to fill some of that, and I'll probably elaborate on that more after. But yeah, what do you think about the video overall, or really anything, whatever you want to take here?
I mean, you can tell it's bittersweet for him. Like he's ready to do it. He's clearly ready for it, but you can tell he's at the same time he's had a lot of good memories with the game, made a lot of good friends along the way, and he honestly did enjoy the game for a very long time. That's why he played it for so long. So, um, yeah, good video. It's sad to see him go. I think that does leave a hole content wise, community wise. I think that he had a good sized community, and a lot of the new players that were attracted to the game would probably come in through his videos and kind of learn their way to the game. Um, so yeah, it's a sad day, I think, for the community.
I would agree with that. And obviously, best of luck to Auron. He is excellent at what he does, and we know him personally. He was here on the Leonis support a year ago. We'll see if we can get him back on at some point, just for fun, just to do a little check in or see whenever that may come to fruition. But yeah, really stand up guy, and wish him the best. And we'll see what we can do to carry the torch in his absence.
I've been checking out some of his new videos on sort of Convalaria because I've been playing that game as well. Um, but yeah, I think he's doing a good job there, kind of continuing his early morning, dark and early traditions. So.
Yeah, he's lucky because he's a school teacher. He can't. Sorry, I'm messing with my light here. I don't know what's the best setting. Because he's a school teacher, he can kind of get up nice and early before he heads into school. Do those. I'll be honest. That's the kind of job too that like I totally understand, where he has to pick and choose his priorities of what games he wants to cover. Where you only have a limited amount of hours outside of work, and quite frankly, his work is not like it's not the kind of work you can go in and half-ass, if you know what I mean. He's a teacher, so you have to be on your game to be that kind of profession. And so it's not like me where I'm virtually 100% remote and I do financial analysis. So I'm just like sitting with spreadsheets all day. I can be half asleep and still do all the analysis I need, as opposed to like being in front of a class. So I totally get where he's coming from in terms of picking priorities, and don't blame him at all.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at the end of the day, there's only so long you can go, kind of, if your head's not in it, if your heart's not in it. And like I said before, I feel like I could see that in his videos, over I'd say it's been a little while now that not really doing the extra like he used to, and looking for that sort of next step forward. And I think he finally found that. So
Yep.
good on him. It's you want to love what you're doing, especially when it comes to content creation, because people can see that and sense that. So
Yep.
uh, I wish him the best.
Same. Yeah, and I'll be honest, I'm gonna try. I'll probably expand upon this more now. It's probably the time to say it. I am gonna try to emulate a lot of the content that he did, because I don't want that subset of the community to have nothing. We've said this before. I've always done content creation on something that I felt like I could add value to, something that I really thought people wanted to see. And to this point, I never wanted to do like a patch, review, or a news notes, or a quick and dirty character review, because Auron already had that checked. Like, to me, that was one of those things that's like, why am I trying to compete with his views? I don't do this for views. I do this for the players. And so they had Auron, and they obviously had other KT7 Up has now taken that to a degree too. KT7 Up does have exceptionally good reviews, but that's the kind of thing that in my heart I don't want that hole to still be a hole. I want to do what I can to like fill some of it. So I do have intentions to boot up the content creation a little, more frequent, and covering much of the stuff that he did before, now that he's not doing anymore. But
That's great. I
yeah.
think that's I mean, the community will appreciate it, I'm sure. I think for me, like in terms of content, it has to speak to me again, and um, the PvP needs to get better, feel better for that to happen. So I'm hoping the recent trends that have been going on kind of continue to build on itself, and it kind of all hinges on the fifth anniversary and what they do there. I think that's kind of a make or break point. I think a lot of people feel that way. So if they really blow it out on the fifth anniversary and do some good things, positive things for the game, I think maybe we can rekindle things a little bit. So
I agree with
fingers
that.
crossed.
Totally agree, and agree about the passion piece. That's why I wanted to like really emphasize that. I'm not passionate about doing patch release stuff, but I'm passionate if it brings value to people. And I didn't think I brought value because Auron already had it. Like, that to me like is the motivation, because I completely agree. It's hard to do content for virtually free if it's not something that you feel like you can put your heart into, or people aren't getting a lot out of. So we'll see what it brings. But we are at the halfway mark virtually. We still have a handful of things to cover, so we'll keep the schedule going here. I didn't even talk about the schedule earlier, so I'll recap it now.
That was the big weighty topic. Is we
Yeah.
could set that to bed now.
We couldn't wait to get into that, but we are going to give some Ramada impressions now that we've had her for a week. We'll recap the vision card again. We did talk a little bit about it last week, but we'll obviously talk about it more in the context of what we know about her today. We got two big PvE content newses today, quite frankly. We keep talking about PvE. Guild Raid is one of them, and the Spire of Fire is also coming in here. Those are two notable forms of PvE content. We have two MA2s, the Shalze and Melnia, to look at quickly. We'll talk a little bit about the Limit Burst cores, just some general thoughts on that, and we do have a 5th anniversary question to end on here, but we'll kick things off with Ramada, and I'll bring up WOTV stats here, and you and I both have her built, and Ram9 does also. We've been using her on this fun new Guild War map. I actually genuinely do like this Guild War map. I feel like it lends itself to a lot of different teams and rotations and things of that nature. I know for me, this is, where are we? We're here somewhere. 6 stars yesterday. Ram got 6 stars. Did you get 3? I think you got 3. No, yesterday. Okay.
No, I crashed yesterday.
the day before. We've actually had some relatively good success with her. I do think part of it is the fact that no one's really gearing for it, so that we are catching people off guard. But she's, quite frankly, holding up way better than I thought she would against a variety of those players. Sephiroth and Shrek and Gilgamesh. We had an inkling that she'd be fine, but I think our general thought initially was that she just wasn't going to do much to disrupt it. But I can't see that case anymore, because I am seeing her disrupt it. I am seeing some really competitive things out of her to at least clear the team. Even if it's not a clean 6-star, that team can clear it, and that's really all you need to start making a meta shift. If a guild starts seeing their wall cleared 3 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars, 3 stars, that starts to prompt some movement in the meta. And so I'm actually really encouraged to see that. I don't know what you think so far with your results.
I think that I've been pleasantly surprised, I'll say, but I haven't been blown away. And it's basically what I said before, in terms of, should the average person have gone for her? I still don't think that they should have.
I agree with that.
But, if you do off banner her, I think that she is a unit that's worth investing into and building into when you do, inevitably pick her up. I think the biggest surprise for me is being able to get Eld back in there. She is good enough that she could bring him back and he can be that complementary piece. He's not the man anymore like he was, back in December or January, but he's able to compete in that team, even with the, diminished statistics. And he's holding up quite well, because a lot of the teams are, either Shrek and Sephiroth or some kind of permutation of that. And as long as he's not going up against a lightning unit, he can hang pretty decently.
Yeah, we've had great success with him. Just from the extra form of barrier break that he brings, he does, enough fun things with the CT manipulation as well. I think he has some CT down in the kit. His limit break with the CT up for the turn order is certainly really nice too. They are missing that general dispel in the team for the most part, which does hurt them in many instances, but damage certainly seems to be there. Survivability is certainly there too. They take way more hits than I thought they would. They're not tanks, but they take more hits than the average unit I was throwing in there the last couple of weeks. And you can see we've been playing with 3 different supports, and all 3 supports have had relatively good success, whether it's Fina or Resnick or Lucille. So that's been a really fun one to kind of roll out, and is one of the reasons why I have hopes for optimism of this kind of being the new normal, that now that we kind of get away from Sephiroth and some of the game balance has changed and there's more permutations of things, that I'm not saying all units are going to come back into the fold, but I think this is where you can kind of maybe see some loosening of how rigid the meta is. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I think it's another domino to fall kind of alongside the greatsword bruisers who have come back in an immense way. I think that we talked a little bit about that before, but I continue to be very, very surprised by the Cloud Joom combo. Even if you don't have Resnick, they can. It's not nearly as good because they can get cursed and it goes downhill from there. But with Resnick, she's kind of the glue holding this transformation of the meta together. She's been an incredible unit. just from that standpoint alone, with the barrier seals and of course the protection against curse, and her healing
Yep.
is otherworldly as well.
Yeah, the follow-up removal is big too. If you don't remove that follow-up, that is a significant amount of damage coming in at you.
Exactly.
Yep. And I will say, full disclosure, I think all three of us here shown on the screen do have Eld max reincarnated, so that is part of it. Then again, that's kind of the kind of argument that we're likely facing max reincarnated units, and so we're just keeping the table even. So I think people in more casual ranks would probably still see the same results we are if they went this route, because I would imagine in casual ranks the Gilgameshes and Treks are not max reincarnated either. So I think it's probably still an even playing field. But
on the flip side, though, the Ramadas have not been reincarnated, or
right,
at least very, very lightly. I know mine was only maybe 15 or so.
I'm at 24, something like that. Yeah, not high at all.
And I think Rim was as well. I think he only today just kind of brought her up a little bit higher. So yeah, I think that considering she is going up against, we were putting up her max reincarnated Resniks, maxed out Sephiroths, and she was able to at least hold her own. It wasn't gangbusters, but it was good.
If you win, you win. That's really all at the end of the day in Guild War. That's the most important thing. And consistency. That's these teams consistently will get 3 for the most part. That's certainly not something we've seen as of late. I will say the team building is probably still limited. I think that's one of the things that's holding her back overall. If you said, Will, how many teams can you put Ramada in? I don't think it's a crazy amount. Even like on the JP side of things, you're seeing a lot of similar permutations. I know this top one's very popular with Sephiroth, but even this, you're only averaging not even 3 stars, so that is not a good team by our standards. Yeah,
I do like that team though, because it, Sephiroth, of course, he's bringing the dispel that she desperately needs, and Luciel gives her the speed factor that she also needs, because her agility is okay. It's not amazing, so they're getting the haste in there, getting the re-raise as another sort of fallback, and the damage amplification as well. So I like Luciel from a synergy standpoint the most, but Resnick feels like a crutch right now, just because Sephiroth is so heavily used. Still.
Absolutely. And just a quick thing here. Chris asked, do you think having a second strong curse unit made the difference? And my answer is no, actually. Of all the things that she does well, curse is not one of the things that I am winning fights with. I'm winning fights purely from like barrier break and damage, and like some of the crit and perils of the CT games with their limit break. The curse is just like a nice cherry on top because everyone is tuning for it at the moment. Everyone has curse res 25 on a Trust Don't passive. 40% of the people are running Resnick, who's got the curse aura. So that curse component of Ramada, I think, is a very minor part. It's going to get better over time, quite frankly. If people stop gearing for that, it's only going to get better.
Yeah, we haven't been building into it. We have diminished her faith so that it's a lower chance,
right?
Just to also reduce her own chances of taking curse when maybe she's out of aura range or what have you. So
yep,
I agree. It's absolutely a bonus, but maybe it could be something interesting later.
Yep, and I think that's a good segue to the vision card, because there's been a couple times here in our testing where we're like, oh, this is really good, but it could use a little bit of juice. And we do think this vision card could be that for a variety of reasons. But number one, you're getting that 60% attack. That is a very noteworthy amount of attack stat. I've said this in my own test so far. When built her properly, there are chances where you can one-shot Sephiroth and take him out entirely. It's not always the case, because it depends on if you got your barrier break sealed by the Resnick buff. But if you don't, she does a ton of damage that's only going to get better with the 60% attack here. Obviously, the Spirit's going to help her in a variety of those matchups, but even the crit rate here, too, that's a big thing I've been leaning into. Sephiroth, his second buff is a 50% crit evade buff. And so in that matchup, really stacking for the crit hit rate is important for her, I think. At least that's where I'm finding the most success so far, but obviously you and Ram have not been doing that and still been seeing the success. So I do think this is a vision card. Obviously Eld is on here too. He's going to also, get better proportionally. That, yeah, I think this is a good card that is going to really, keep her on the path.
It continues the immense support between Spire and the Devout class as well.
Yep.
For me, this is for Pierce or Pierce Devout, this is like a direct replacement that I've really been wanting to get rid of the Full Metal Alchemist card.
Yes.
As good as it is, and as much as I like that card, and we've goated it, for so long. Right now, it just doesn't feel good in that particular team anyway. Where okay, the unit resistance is okay, but all right, the main unit resist threat or unit attack threat right now is cutting through 50% of that. So
Right.
it's 8 unit resistance tops.
Right.
I would much rather be looking at this 12 spirit where maybe I can get she only has 40 to 50% spirit penetration. And then the 60% attack especially is what I really want to see there, where we have a bunch of man killer cards. We have some pierce attack cards. The attack, the pure attack card here that I can bring into the primary slot, I think is really going to make that team cook and be a lot better. So I think I'm definitely going to pick it up for that.
Spot on. And I would agree with you on the Full Metal card. That to me is still a great card only because you can put whatever card you want in the third slot. I still think that is immense value. That whatever problem you have with your team, you can basically fix because you can put any other third vision card in there. But to the point of the potency of the Full Metal card, I couldn't agree more. The bestowed effects on that are virtually non-existent compared to what's the new bestowed effects here now. I think it's just what slash res and missile res, I think, or pierce res. Pierce res, yeah. It's a nothing burger. So this is gonna be a great card for those that are going that direction. I don't know if it's necessary if you're not using Spear. If you're just going for Katana teams, this is probably an easy skip. But if you really love Spear teams, this is it.
I don't know. I think this is a good investment for Katana as well because they're very, very magic focused when it comes to their vision cards, even still. So I think this is like, especially on the agility cards for the Katana group.
Yes, I'm sorry, you are correct. The agility aspect completely changes that. I was just thinking though, I do know like the Oberyn one was attack percent. I feel like there were a couple others. Am I wrong? I could be wrong. Maybe just that one.
Like,
all right, I take it
I
back.
think that's the only attack percent. Yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
And that's like a limited
Katana
card. Maybe not everybody grabbed. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think if you're like big into Katana, like this is also a good one to pick up.
Yep, I agree.
Dagger, like nobody's got any copium for Dagger at this point, but and then Staff B is whatever. This is kind of they're like the ancillary unit on this, but
no, but the Staff B is a major synergy with Katana and Spear.
Especially with Angela coming in potentially, right.
Yeah, we were saying Angela. Lucille obviously is one of the top tier premier units for that too. Yeah, totally. Cool. All right, well, we'll keep moving along with the agenda here. We got the kind of, was this a surprise? Because I feel like it was a surprise. I was not anticipating guild raid at all. I don't think this has happened.
We were due for it in or around this time. Like It's not out of the blue because JP did have theirs, I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I think it's yeah.
I like it. Well, I was going to prepare an infographic just for some of the info, but I'll be honest, that's not really what we do in the podcast. We're not going nuts and bolts here, but we can still talk to it.
It is a little bit. They're changing it up a little bit here. We got 2 groups of bosses that kind of. Usually we have like just 5 groups, and all of the map effects apply to all 5 of them. This time they've kind of swapped things up a little bit, where group 1 is emphasizing the strike and pierce attacks, and then group 2 is going to be emphasizing missiles and magic.
Yes.
And then slash in both of them does also get a bonus, which it hasn't actually. It just has been the 10,000, so it's getting a smaller bonus, but not as much as the other 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I've never made a run for top score personally. And that's probably never going to happen now that Max Reincarnation is on the table too. If I recall, Cayenne had Max reincarnated their Hope unit in the last run here to get their top scores, and I will never do that for any of this. So that component of it's gone. I doubt we'll put a significant dent into like min-maxing things. We'll probably go for the generic, just see how high you can get. We should probably do something in the guild though, just to make like a guild related contest, but even then, guild rate at this point is what you make of it. I think it's in that kind of category.
Yeah, it's an individual thing. Like I think for the most part, the prizes for actually winning the #1 guild, I don't think are really all that worthwhile. But it is fun to kind of collaborate with the guild, I think, and for those that are interested in sort of min-maxing things. Personally, I do that, and I will do that again. I'm not sure. Usually, I kind of hyper focus on one or two bosses, so I haven't decided which ones I'm going to go for. But yeah, I usually do like a guild raid cheat sheet. Also, I'm in the middle of updating that, and I'll be putting that out. I'm not going to make a video or anything on it. It's kind of just updated infographics. I'll post it on my community page though.
Can't wait. Will look forward to that because I will. Someone, Chris asked, can we record the guild raid and post them? I'll probably do a couple of them. I've never done that before, and mostly because a lot of it was proprietary for quite some time. Where I feel like there used to be more guild competition around this, where there was a point of pride for guilds to rank, and I don't think that's here anymore. That's not just this mode. I think even regular Guild War, I think that point of pride is doesn't mean as much to the average player. So that I think that's part of the loss of motivation, that that kind of intangible extrinsic motive or intrinsic motivation of like, I want to be the best. I want to be the top 5 guild. Fuck that other guild. They can be outside of top 5. I don't think that's there like it used to be.
I think it all comes down to the poor rewards that are into it. I mean, I think pride only goes so far, you know. And even within certain communities that maybe kind of make their own fun out of it. And once that kind of passion falls away, you're really on the back of the rewards, which have never been that great in this mode.
Nope.
In fact, I wish they would not give us the resource tickets, and we've talked this about this before.
I've never
sitting
used
on
them.
thousands of these resource tickets that are absolutely useless.
I've literally 15,000 or 1,500 or 1,800 or 2,100, whatever it is. I've never used a single ticket from these. They're absolutely useless to me. I have thousands of them. So I'll take a screenshot for someone. I'll make a note of that. Screenshot tickets, because it's fucking unbelievable. Yeah, that's how useless they are.
Yeah, it's been due for an overhaul basically since it started.
Yeah. We did, alongside this though, we were joking. This news release is only like what, 2 to 3 bullet points large, but this might be like the most PvE content we've gotten in a while, which we've been asking for because we also have the Spire coming in here. It's the fire ring that you're basically going to be able to upgrade. It's the Spire of Fire, so it's the good old fashioned 10 floors. This is going to be the most PvE content we've probably had in like months, to have Guild Raid and Spire of Fire come out at the same time. Although it is a little bit of a snooze fest for some, particularly if you're not going for these high scores, as we mentioned. You obviously don't have to do any of it if it doesn't matter, because as long as you get your ring upgraded to +6, then you can just call it a day. But I like this mode still because I think it's easily digestible, being only 10 floors as opposed to the 100. And I'll be honest, as a fan of like certain elements, I've always really liked these titles. Where if you're like a water main or a fire main now, these are the ones that like, I think they sound cool, they look cool. That if you're a fire main, like I would love to have Blaze of Glory here, even though it's only a score of A, but like I think this is a fun set of titles for those that really like the element. So I do look forward to these for the title purpose of it.
Yes, I mean, Tower, we've kind of dogged on it for so long. It's bad. It's still bad. It's always going to be bad. Spire, they did better. It's not perfect. It still could use some work, but the titles are good. It's more bite-sized in terms of 10 floors. And there is a little bit of challenge to it, at least if you're trying to go for these titles. You know, you probably do have to manual at least, you know, the upper floors. So I like it for what it is. It doesn't take, you know, super long. So I think that they've almost nailed this part. I think that's in terms of Guild Raid, just kind of going back to that point and kind of the PvE, I think it's always been just a missed opportunity how rarely we get these, because I feel like most people I talk to or kind of have had interactions with have generally liked the gameplay and kind of the going up against the bosses and collaborating with the guild. I think that's something they've done right with it. But the rewards and the cadence of it, like this is like the second, maybe the third time we've had it in 9 months. Like, why isn't this happening, you know, once a quarter or something like that?
I agree.
It's always been bizarre to me.
I agree. just a quick fun shout out. King Delita said, I still have my favorite title, Blaze of the Battlefield. And I know exactly what that is. That is the Lilith title, my friend. 10,000 runs with
Nice.
Lilith. I know that because that's the first character I ever 10,000 runs with. I love fire, so I went for that title very early on. I agree with you though, that this does not come around with enough consistency of frequency. But I love Guild Raid for the pure fact still that you're not using meta units for it. I think that's one of the coolest things that people can still tap into with this. That the best units, quite frankly, are the non-meta units, and the vision cards are the older vision cards. So when we talk about like being able to access content without having to like keep up with the game, this is one of the few places where I think people really still can do that. Where yeah, you can rock like a mono dark team with shoot, I don't know, Darkstern and Venera. Like that's probably still on the table. Do you know what I mean? That I don't think you can do that anywhere else. That I feel like that if this is something they could lean into to appease that portion of people looking for it.
I think in the last guild raid, I was using Naya, and in the one before that, where I won the Earth against the Lightning boss, I was using Murmur in that team.
I
Also
love it.
Eileen.
Also
So shout
Eileen.
out to AuronnJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say that a second ago. Yep.
Yep. Summer Lilith was on that squad too. So yeah, absolutely.
Real quick, Chris Metz actually asked a good question here. How often would you use the rings at the moment? Because there was a time where these element rings, I think, were used far more prevalently than they are today because we are not in the mono element phase as frequently as we used to be. I still think these are very strong tools to use, though. I do think it's probably more for things like Arena, where you can cheese your way to win a little bit, where you know exactly your opponent. It's still one of the most, particularly with AoE res, shred, pen, and unit res pen, the element res is now the king of like impenetrable resistance at this point, where there's nothing they can do other than imperiling your all element res, which Sephiroth can on the limit break and Joom can too. So there is counterplay to that, but I do think the rings are really good for those strategic plays. I have used them in Guild War a little bit though too, where sometimes you want to make sure that like you're using Shrek, you want to make sure she doesn't, or that's a bad example. Maybe someone like Gilgamesh, where you don't want him to get too destroyed by a Shrek, so you wear the ice ring. Like I think there are opportunities for that, but that's probably more a thing of higher level Guild War and high IQ, trying to predict who's going to attack you, so you can put it on defense, that kind of thing. But these are still excellent rings. There's no reason not to +1 them. Everyone should be doing that.
I think in terms of the Blaze Ring, I like it a lot. Like, if you think about a lot of teams have Sephiroth and Gilgamesh on them, and it protects against both ice and fire resistance. My main issue with it right now, though, is it does lower your immobilized resistance, which
Yes.
you absolutely do not want to use this right now if you're facing off against Shrek, because you will be locked in place for the entire match.
Exactly. Right. That's actually something. It's funny you say that. I forget sometimes the negatives on some of these rings, but yeah, you really do have to keep an eye out for them because this is a bad time for this. Yeah. Who was it? Greatness just talked about Glaciella wearing the Tide ring, and absolutely right on Glaciella. Like this, there was a time that fire and water were everywhere. And sure, are you kidding me? 25% fire res and 20% water res for Joom and for Sephiroth, and the evasion rates, whatever, for Summer Glassy here. This is a very important piece to tanking for her. That's resistances that can only be imperiled. There's no penetration for that.
And this is one of the rings where it doesn't really hurt you as much on the negative. It's the evasion rate, which, especially in Glassy, you didn't care about that. I think Earth is another one that doesn't really have any negative or any meaningful negative.
I think they fixed
But
Earth. I think Earth came out with negatives, if I recall, and they just got rid of it. No, maybe not. I feel like
yeah,
there was a thing though. There was one here at one point. I think they might have gotten rid of it.
I think you're right. I think it might have been like a reduction in spirit or something like that, which was bad at the time of its
Yeah,
release.
yeah. Either way, get
But
your ring. Definitely do it. Highly recommended. They're still worth using. Definitely for Arena. Sometimes in Guild Wars, and definitely for PVE.
yeah.
There are stages, reliquary quests. I use these all the time in the reliquary quests. If I have a unit that obviously you're going to see a lot of the enemy element, throw this on there. Like that's huge.
Yeah, certainly.
But yeah, we'll keep going along here too. We are getting toward the end of things. at least for what we want to talk about. We will look at some MA2s here, which are namely Melnia and Shalze. I guess we'll kick off with Melnia because I have her up. Obviously, these MA2s usually are just to keep units at pace, hopefully giving them some kind of new tech to do so. Very rarely do they actually make them competitive with the meta. It's not impossible, though. We'll see if this meets that threshold. But for Melnia, they're giving her 15 accuracy and 20 unit res pen. I'll be honest, not the worst MA2, but not going to do anything for her. To me, this accuracy is basically keeping her equal with the power creep of the luck vision cards and overall pseudo evade that we're seeing. So this is basically just like getting her to break even. And the unit res pen, I'll be honest, is a noticeable damage increase. The problem with Melanie is simply just that she gets like 1 tap or 2 tap by everything. So this really does nothing to answer that. I don't know if this makes her more of a glass cannon. This makes her more of just a glass water pistol. Like, it's a good upgrade, but not going to do anything for her.
Yeah, I mean, she never really did much on our side of the game. She had like a brief, like maybe counter pick, where against like the black mage meta, where you're on some maps you could set up certain plays where she could delete the re-raise on the black mage team.
Yep.
And that was kind of her prime usage that we've seen thus far, and even that was kind of niche. So yeah, she needs a lot more than this to really be in any kind of consideration. And I don't know. We've had long talks about where missile is at this stage of the game, so it's okay, but yeah, I don't see it doing anything.
No. And for someone like Shalze, who has faded by the wayside for many reasons we've talked about, but still is a good cost limited unit at that 70 cost. Her upgrades here, they're giving her an extra 15% crit evade. And again, this is good, but I do see this as like keeping current with the state of the game in terms of where crit rates have gotten to. They are giving her a free decrease of skill activation time, and I think this is the attack type, not the heal type. So that is an important distinction.
No, that's non-attack.
That's the
So that will be for her heals and,
Thank you.
and support abilities. Yep.
Okay. This is excellent then. I was really confused because I was looking for that. And it gives her honeycomb barrier, which I'll be honest is a really good one. This is 10% at the range of 4 to 7. This is an excellent, for a 70 cost unit, an excellent MA2 upgrade.
So that's a full value honeycomb. That's up to 40% at range 7, which in a lot of battles she will be. She'll be at the back of in the back line. She likes to hang back there. So and you can buff a honeycomb barrier on top of that too, since this is passive. So
Yep.
if you have like Gilgamesh's TMR, you could be rocking double honeycomb barriers. She's going to be extremely hard to kill, which to be honest, she was already pretty tanky to begin with. She has kind of pretty good resistances. I really, really love the cast time reduction though, because that has always been one of her biggest faults, is especially when you go to use her curative prayer from cleric.
Right.
This will get her to 450 rather than just relying on the 200 that she's baked in with. So it goes from a 3 tick to a 2 tick for her.
I love it. At a minimum, it alleviates the need to use this passive. You probably still would like to, I would think, but it's not necessarily the necessity it used to be, where maybe you can go for, the agility percent and the AoE res and crit evade. Like these top two are really good passives where maybe you couldn't use them as freely as you could before, but yeah.
Yeah, at least in terms of cast time, like it's going to be about the same as it is now if you were using that and opt not to. So yeah, I like that. I like that quite a bit. She, at this point, she was meta for actually for a while when the Saul and Devout teams were running around. At this point, we really only see her as a mainstay in limited, but she has proven to be still very solid in that format.
She's great in limited. The main problem, we've said this just to recap, twofold. Number one, she's very buff heavy that can be dispelled quite easily, and that we've seen that big uptick that most of this is just like irrelevant after she uses that buff. But the limit break here too, this was amazing at one point to give courage, but we know how quickly courage can be dispelled now, that unless you have courage seal, this often can be just a wasted turn going into the current meta with all the follow-up attacks that can proc courage then kill them, and Sephiroth, who's got AoE courage removal and a whole bunch of other things. Yeah,
I think at this point the buffs and TMRs are That's been one change that Shrek has kind of enabled is
Yeah.
buffs and TMRs, depending on what you're doing, can be relevant again.
Yep.
So, the dispel ceiling, it has absolutely changed the game.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. So that's really what we had for like in-game things that are coming. We figured take a couple minutes here to talk about just some other Q&A and thoughts we'd bring to the forefront of discussion. One of them was around the limit break upgrade cores, and you had brought this up because you noticed you were running low, and I am too actually, and that was never the case. I had like 30 cores like ready to go like a month or two ago, and I'm basically at like 6. I got like basically none left for limit break cores, and we've not seen them released in the far plane every week. It's like every other week or every third week. So we are running low. I have a theory as to it, but you want to talk a little bit about what prompted this for you and what your thoughts on it overall?
It's been incredibly annoying because I've done every single limit burst, limit core, I forget what they call them, but whatever stage they put out here, once a month or whatever it is, I've done them all. I've perfected, I've gotten all the achievements and whatever. So I've obviously I've logged in every day. So, they've occasionally given them out as handouts once in a blue moon. So I've had every single limit burst core that is available to any player, and I can't even come close to unlocking all the limit bursts that are available to be unlocked. Like I haven't even touched maybe half the units that have LB upgrades available to them. And that feels really bad because this is yet another area where these units are falling even further and further behind. I don't even have the resources to get them what menial power creep advantage that they've been giving out to them. Um, they're not even available to buy them. You can't even go to the store and pay to win. So it's like, what are we doing with this limit burst upgrade? It's completely fumbled, in my opinion. So just wanted to say that.
I agree. It started off okay, I thought, because obviously the speed of limit burst release kind of matched the core enhancement. And my theory was simply that the earliest limit break upgrades were for units that weren't good. And so you wouldn't spend your upgrade cores in them because you knew you never were going to use those units. As of late, the limit break upgrades have been on more units that maybe not in Guild War, but maybe Arena, maybe in cost limited stuff that I'm using them with more frequency because the characters getting the upgrades are better. So now that's where I've depleted myself. But I agree. To me, I do think we're at that turning point. It's not too late. They can do it tomorrow. Where this probably should be more readily available, maybe in the Mog shop as an exchange for your medals. To say like, yeah, you have to do some kind of currency. It's not just for free. But we've seen that these limit break upgrades are not character changing for many. They're already so far behind that it's really a drop in the bucket to bringing them up to speed. That I don't. It's not like this is a huge competitive advantage that they're giving away for free. At this point, I think it's a quality of life update that is a small whatever consolation prize for maybe making these units do something in whatever application you're using them. But I agree, we're at that point now. These limit breaks are basically done. I see no reason why it can't be an exchangeable or purchasable. Hopefully exchangeable. I mean, I don't want to buy them; it's a waste of money. But hopefully
Yeah,
exchangeable
I'm not
in the
going to
log
buy
shop.
them.
Yeah,
I think where the disconnect has been is the limited units that are or the seasonal units that have come through where you get a batch of like 5, 6 units that all get their limit burst enhancements at the same time. And then, when we get those stage, like we don't really get any extra cores when those are coming along. We just get the normal stage, and that's supposed to cover you for the legacy units in addition to maybe the seasonal units. So early on, I agree with you that the units were so bad, like your Elds and Z's of the world, that you didn't even entertain the thought of using them. But now, when you're seeing units like the Jadens and some of these other units, where maybe you want to just put them into Arena to see what they can do, I can't even do that because I don't even have the cores. So it's really been rubbing me the wrong way lately.
I agree. Unfortunately, I don't think I've had a character yet where I'm like, oh, I don't have enough cores, I can't use them. But I'm really close. Like, if they drop some limit break upgrades this week, I might be out. That's how close I am. But I haven't run into that wall yet. But I'm right there.
So I ran a manual tournament, and the cost structure was all 80 cost units and below.
Yep.
So I burned a bunch of cores just like on 3 or 4 units for that tournament, and that's where I kind of was really running into this problem.
That stinks because you're not going to use 80 cost units anywhere else.
No.
So that's yeah, totally on par. But we do have a Q&A here to end things, which I do think is a good Q&A given the timing of, the next couple of months. And I'll see if I can pop this up here. The question was, with the JP 5th anniversary on the horizon, what are some things you and JB think the devs should do to give WOTV a potential second wind? And this does kind of align with a lot of what we talked about for game improvements and whatnot. So maybe this is a good question to kind of reiterate some of those or maybe make some predictions. But do you want to take this first? Do you have any thoughts? Or I can do this first on what you think the devs should do to give a potential second wind?
There's a lot of things that they need to do. I think that it needs to be player friendly in terms of the power creep. First and foremost, we can't go into another anniversary where the cost of the game just increases over what it is right now, because we're already beyond a breaking point. We're already past the point where it's too expensive for people. You can't make it more expensive. That's absolutely going to kill the game. What they need to do is bring back stars for Hollow Vision cards. If they're not going to lower the prices on the actual step ups, they need to bring back the stars for them. Second of all, like I said, any sort of power creep in terms of like bring older units into the fray or whatever they want to do in terms of EX2 or level 160, whatever. It needs to be player friendly, similar to like what the it can't be like reincarnation basically where it's so pay to win. It needs to be like a time gated kind of thing where sure, maybe you can buy a few extras and similar to like the EX system or the transcendent system, but let's not do another reincarnation style pay to win fest.
I would agree with that. This is a tough question because every year there should be something introduced into the game that's going to change the game. That's kind of the nature of gacha and PvP and really anything. It doesn't have to be either of those, but the game needs to iterate, otherwise it just gets stale. So I don't know of a system, something they could put in that would iterate that wouldn't also have to make them money. And by that fact means it's going to be costly, which by that fact is not what we need right now. So it's tough for me to say what could they do to give a second win, because any enhancement to the character or ease of acquisition is going to hurt their pocket, and I just don't see that happening. So for me, I think like being a little more like pragmatic, if I could, to like what I'd recommend, I would increase PvE content or storyline content. I need a season 4 of WOTV. There needs to be, the Realm Scourge needs to be done. If we're going into the 5th anniversary and this is still the same storyline with no future, that is not a good spot to be. We need a overhaul to the story mode, do more. They obviously have a template here with like Sword of Convalaria with like what you can do for like PvE storyline modes with like, I'm not going to get into it, but the bottom line is there's more than what they can do right now besides going into a story mission, pressing auto, and waiting till the cutscene plays, because that's what it is right now. Needs to be more than that, and needs to be an actual storyline. So I think that, because I think they need to do something to signal that the game is not dying. They need Hiroki to come out and actually do live streams. They need things to show that like this is not the end of it. And they really, because they haven't done that right now. We've going on like 2 months now on global of being like, where are you guys? Like what's going on? Like this is basically just thrown nothing and hoping that we keep getting strung along. That I think they just need to do public things, whether it's Hiroki gifts, whether it's special banners again, whether it's more consistent live streams, literally anything just to show that the game is not dying, at least to hold the current player base. Will that bring in new players to give it a true second wind? Probably not, but hopefully at least through word of mouth. We're a tight-knit community. Maybe that can help bring people back, but other than a very strong marketing push, I don't know what would bring people back for a second win. You would need some substantial marketing to bring people into WOTV.
I do think that Final Fantasy Tactics would absolutely bring people back.
Yes.
But I think that it needs to be something more. If the units are just kind of brought out for a song and dance and they're not actually usable and competitive in the game, then it's going to be super short lived. Like people are going to log in and say, oh, great, I can get Agrius to level 140, see you in 2 years, right? Or see you never.
Right.
Um,
Thanks. She get
so
one shot by Sephiroth cursed and do nothing. Like that.
yeah, it absolutely rings hollow if they bring back tactics and it's a nothing burger basically, right?
Yep.
They need to actually do something with that. Bring in mercenary Ramza, bring in King Delita, shout out in the chat. You know, bring in absolute, you know, completely new units, you know.
Yep.
There's lots of great characters in that game, lots of great villains. I think that would absolutely bring some hype back to the game, especially if they made it like a fun event with an actual storyline behind it, with some interaction with the characters. That would totally blow it out.
I agree. I agree. I think the interaction, I don't know if they can do that. Maybe they could. There's no precedent for that. I would like to see that. But I don't think there's been a precedent of a collab character interacting. I'm sorry, with a Final Fantasy collab character interacting with War of the Division. There's never been a Squall or a Cloud or a Bartz talking in a cutscene.
Which I think is to the detriment of the game.
I
It
agree.
was something that they did in FFBE all the time. You would go into actual levels with your units. They would talk about the worlds. I mean, it was very, you know, surface level, but that's okay. Do that. I mean, those little nods or the little references to the game go a long way in kind of fleshing out those collaborations and making it feel a little bit more than just like here's a new unit, you know.
Than literally just pixels on a screen, because that's literally what it is. There's no
Yeah.
experience change. Like I'm really proud of Nikkei for doing this. Nikkei does a great job with their collaborations. The whole menu is redone to be stylized in the collab that they're doing. So for us, that would be like your formation menu. Now it looks like the Final Fantasy VIII menu, or like the sound effects change, or like the cutscenes. Yeah, they do have like interactive scenes where the people, like the collab units, actually talk to the units in game. It's superficial, but it's something. And they have like uh bond levels that you can level up bonds, and like oh, I don't know if you can do it with the collab units. Never mind. Bottom line is there's more to be done that I don't think costs a lot. I don't know. Maybe that's crazy to me. We're not innovating gameplay. There really shouldn't be any code. If you can do pixels for a new character, you should be able to do pixels for the character model on the screen, like the portrait. It's as simple as the portrait there, just wiggling up and down like they did with the new Fireplane archive. I mean, and it's literally text. There's no voice acting. So, or maybe there's voice acting, but it doesn't have to be.
On that same note, I think that another way, I mean, if they're looking for ways to make money, it's still a mystery to me why they haven't done this, you know, years ago, is add skins
Yes.
and cosmetics to the game. Like why can't we get, you know, pixel trails on the sword and kind of rainbows flying around my character and, you know, my avatar looking all blinged out? Like, why aren't those things in the game? Like, of course you want to have some that you can earn through achievements and things like that, but you know, you can have some that you know, maybe cost something as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. We were just talking about that a couple days ago in the Discord, that Nikkei, among others, one of their main revenue streams is the cosmetics. Overwatch is notoriously one of them too. A whole bunch of them where there's literally no pay to win component of it. It's basically money in their pocket, not with no detriment to the player's experience. We already have weapon glam in the game. You can change weapon appearances. You know, there should be ways to have alternate costumes, weapon effects, like you mentioned. There's money to be made there that's being left off the table.
I think in a PvP focused game, that is a way to keep it much healthier, because you know, if you're relying more on the cosmetic side of it, then you're not constantly banging power creep down the player's throats, and you know, it keeps it more competitive for the free to play side, where you know, they're obviously not going to partake in the cosmetics, but maybe they can keep up with the game a little bit better.
Yep. And to King Toledo's point, is to say that they would rather make new units instead of skins. I mean, obviously so, and that's really their main source of money. You're not going to spend $300 on skins, but gacha games are predicated on.
Well,
oh well, yeah, somewhat.
I mean,
Yeah,
people spend more than that in Nikkei.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, wait a minute, that's not totally true, but you know what I mean, like the average player. But what gachas are predicated on being microtransaction based, and like you can do microtransactions quite easily with cosmetics. To say like $10, you get a skin. A lot of people would pay $10 to get a skin for one of their favorite characters. Like I don't think that's a far stretch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's really all we had, and we're at an hour and 18. Probably a good spot to cut it here, just so we don't go too long in the tooth, considering there's not a whole ton to cover in game other than some of the Guild Raid and Spire. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about game balance wise, or real life, or WOTV, or anything?
I don't think so. I mean, and I was kind of worried if we would be able to fill out a whole hour, but as usual, we kind of managed to find something to talk about. Thank you everybody for coming out as always. Always appreciate looking at what you guys have to say in the chat. Pour one out for AuronnJ. You know, hopefully we can get him on here and kind of have one last bash here before the year is out. Kind of ring it in with the community. So yeah, appreciate you guys.
Totally agree. Can't echo that enough. Thank you for being here tonight. To those watching after the fact, per usual, comments, critiques, criticisms, all in the comment section below. Love to get feedback. As we keep saying, we do this for all of you. So whatever questions you have, we'll always do our best to answer them and hopefully maybe cater some content to them if there's a demand. I know that obviously, as I mentioned, that's a big motivator for me. So love to hear that feedback. But until then, good luck pulling for the vision card in a couple days and enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see y'all later.